Hello. So today's video is about archaeology and anthropology, which is the best option to understand our past. Basically, ये जो वीडियो है ये इस पर्पस से बनाया गया है कि एक जनरल अंडरस्टैंडिंग हो सके कि पास्ट को अंडरस्टैंड करने के लिए आर्कियोलॉजी एज अ टूल इम्पॉर्टेंट है या फिर इंटरप्रिटेशन थ्रू द एंथ्रोपोलॉजिकल डिसिप्लिन वो इम्पॉर्टेंट है. तो which is best subject to opt if you are interested in understanding the past. So it is very important to understand what is archaeology and what is anthropology. So anthropology is the best suited to the unraveling the complexities of the operation of a cultural system at a point in time. So anthropology basically deals with the today's indigenous communities who live in that primitive lifestyle. Not exactly primitive, but they have hold that their traditional knowledge system. But there is a some limitations which is very important when we deal with the anthropological interpretation for the archaeological material culture. So anthropology deals with the present uh, indigenous communities, whereas archaeology offers the best evidence in non-literate culture for the development of that system over time through its partial record, which is known as material culture. So archaeology basically deals with the past material culture. I have some reservation with this term non-literate and literate society, because it's our perception to see the past through our own glasses. So everyone have different type of glass, right? Everyone have different kind of lenses to see the past. So this interpretation can vary, and sometimes our biasness also hold us back to interpret uh, about the past societies. So basically the anthropology deals with the current indigenous community, whereas archaeology deals with the past societies through the material culture. Here one thing is more important, is also important for the archaeology, that material doesn't have any culture. Okay, so when you are dealing with the material culture, you have to be very cautious with the application of archaeological sciences, which is an interdisciplinary subject, because we use biology, geology, geology, geomorphology, GIS, remote sensing, different kind of applications to understand and interpret the past communities, past societies and their landscape. Okay, so one should be very cautious when dealing with the material culture. Second important aspect is anthropology. In Western countries, there is no such separate archaeology department. They have anthropology department where they have one section for archaeology, which deals with the past society. Okay, and there they used to understand the dynamics of cultural system, how the past uh, how the past is helpful to understand the present, and what could be the future perspective. So archaeology is like archaeology as a methodology helps us to create a bridge between the present and the past for the betterment of the future. That could be one approach to understand archaeology and opting a discipline like archaeology. Second important aspect is that anthropology deals with the four main branches like physical anthropology, cultural or social anthropology. In some countries like America, they have this cultural anthropology, and in Britain we have this social anthropology. So basically, somewhere it is same approach, because culture is not separate from society or sociology. So it is the same integral part, but they have the approaches, different approaches, because from individual to a group, if you want to understand the whole society, whole cultural system, you have to include some of the social institutions and social norms which help to reshape that culture as a system. So physical anthropology deals with the human evolution, ancient DNA, genetics, and how the gender, caste, and sex were determining factors in society, particular given society. So physical anthropology deals with the human physical evolution and physical dynamics, and whereas the cultural and social anthropology deals with the cultural elements such as landscape, tools, artifacts, what were the important social institutions which help in good governance, and other administrative systems, trade, and uh, different aspect of so called this word religion, which I personally feel doesn't fit in this with the past. So fourth one is linguistic anthropology. Linguistic anthropology is basically development of script and language, how the different in different time period we have used different kind of script and different kind of language to interpret the subjects. So we have discussed about the branches of anthropology. Here we are going to deal with the branches of archaeology. So basically in India we have three major parts for the archaeological study. First one is prehistory, second one is protohistory, third one is historical archaeology. So what is prehistory? Pre means before, and history means written evidence. It is a journal term which were used to define this prehistory. So prehistory deals with the human evolution before human were able to write or document their thoughts, imaginations, and different aspects. But I feel that prehistoric paintings were also are also a kind of documentation of their lifestyle. So this definition before writing and after writing, this I don't agree with this statement, but it's my personal opinion. So one can always differ from others' opinion. So prehistory is basically deals with the human man and land relationship, where they have evolved when they didn't had that kind of setup for the permanent habitation. Permanent habitation and mobile settlements, these are the two different aspects in prehistory where which we deal uh, in depth, where we differentiate different kind of sites like factory sites and permanent settlements, hamlets, and seasonal movements, these kind of understanding for the primitive or indigenous communities. Whereas when we talk about prehistory, prehistoric archaeology basically starts with the climatic change which occurred around 1200 BC. BC. So this 1200 BC event of some sort of short for short period, there was a fluctuation in climate where people thought to settled down, and they created a complex ideology to hold their society, for which we use this term of belief system of faith and different religious aspects. So proto-history basically deals with that kind of society where we have the evidence of permanent settlements. We have a small uh, administrative unit which used to govern the whole, govern the uh, particular aspects of society, like grains uh, distribution, because we have this granary, huge granaries for community granaries and community cattle pens, where the whole community keeps their cattle and keeps their grain for their bad economy year. That is one aspect. Second is, this was the time period when we start seeing the urban, not exactly urban, but village communities, village societies, which started developing the urban features through the different developmental phases and different transitional phases. So there is a, I feel there is a very much uh, needed micro study. There should be a tendency going through the micro to macro, from macro level to local evolution, and from local evolution to regional evolution of cultural system. So this micro level understanding of archaeological or cultural system can give us a detailed study and detailed uh, information about the cultural dynamics. So from micro to macro, when we move, then we further understand how the cultural system of one culture was behaving with the another cultural system, because in India we have a diverse geographical units. So these different geographical units helped helped in the development of different kind of cultural system. So it's very complex. We cannot generally we use the term hunter gatherers, foragers, village settlements, urban settlements, but I feel there is much more needed to be understand about this cultural system dynamics, because it never linear in pattern, it was multilinear, and there was not hierarchy but heterogeneity. Hierarchy is something which you can divide in different orders: lower order, middle order, upper order. But heterogeneity is more complex to understand. Movement of people, migration, and diffusion from one region to another region. Like during the Harappan period, we see the settlements, concentration of settlements in the northwestern India. When we start getting the evidence after the 19th century, 1900 BC, we see the gradual transmission or gradual integration with the different kind of communities in the Ganga plain, as well as central India and Rajasthan region. So these cultural systems need to be understood on the micro level, obviously with the help of the archaeological sciences, implication of archaeological sciences, as well as we cannot uh, disagree on this point that India has a vast literary evidences, literary scriptures, which need to be interpreted in its authentic way, not only just to quote the translated version, but someone who had some sort of background of Sanskrit or Prakrit, uh, which can be very helpful to understand the gradual development of these cultural systems. So historical archaeology basically starts with the development of institutions. governing institutions like administrative units, concept of king, and further we have the clear-cut evidence of the uh, concept of um, empire, because empire is something which is very foreign term for the Indian context. We never had one empire ruling all over the different geographical units, because for example there is a concept that Ashoka was a king of whole of the North India, but if you see closely or observe closely, it seems that Ashoka was a king of Magadha region, and there was sub subsidiary, or there were some small uh, territorial chieftains or kings who were directly or indirectly paying the taxes to Ashok, King Ashok, but it doesn't mean that Ashoka was the king of whole of the North India. And for instance, when Ashok was not a king, when his father was king, he sent Ashok to different to suppress different revolts in Takshashila we see, and Ujjaini, Tosli, Kaling was one big hurdle for Bimbisar. So there are some sort of uh, problem with using the term empire, Mauryan Empire, which I feel is not suitable for the Indian context to call something as defining some uh, kingdom as empire. So, which are the important branches which helps in archaeological studies? These are landscape archaeology. Landscape means man and land relationship, because we need to accept the fact that environment or ecology plays important role in the development of any given cultural system, because what happens if you don't have ecological support, if you have a very good infrastructure but you don't have ecological support, you can't build an infrastructure. Okay, so you need to get the help from your outer surroundings, which is known as the landscape. So landscape archaeology is understanding of soil quality, what kind of soil you have around your area, which is suitable for agriculture or not suitable for agricultural activities, raw materials which are present in your surrounding area, which could be one important reason to establish a settlement. And third one is communication, uh, from the point of communication where you are creating or building one new settlement. There is a very much this necessity of the good communication via land or river or via sea. So one communication uh, point is very important in any ancient settlement. So there is another such branches like bioarchaeology, zooarchaeology, human evolution through the paleontology, and geoarchaeology, which deals with the geomorphology of that region. Okay, if no, because sometimes what happened, like in the case of Saraswati river, Saraswati rivers was uh, originated in the Shivaliks, lower Shivaliks, from the Himalayan region, and it flows around via Haryana and present day Haryana, and touching the point of Kalibanga or Rajasthan, and going parallel to the Indus River. But if today we don't have Saraswati River visually, we can't trace the river in a visual form like it was in during the Harappan period. But when we plot the settlements around the river, we see the sequence of settlements continuing throughout this old coast. Okay, so such kind of geoarchaeological study where we use GIS, geographical information system, remote sensing, and different kind of applications, satellite related applications where we use to interpret the images, satellite images, to interpret the ancient landscape. So geoarchaeology is also one of the important factor to understand the, like, for example, if you are uh, making a ceramic, so through the ceramic study, through the petrological study, we understand that the source of that soil is from the local region, or it was imported from some another region, or pottery was built, ceramic was built at the same place, or it was also imported. So these kind of uh, chemical mineral chemical mineral study could be very helpful to understand the cultural system. So in archaeology we deal with the material culture. So what is material culture? Material have its own, material means something which could be a organic or inorganic material. Generally we generally most of the time we didn't get any organic material um, at archaeological sites because of the nature of environment. We have temperature and different kind site formation process and different kind of aspects which affect this whole system. So material means things which could be organic or inorganic. Secondly, every material or everything has its own life. For example, wood have different kind of life, metal have different kind of life, and stone have different kind of life. So we, as an archaeologist, we also try to understand the life process of that material, right? Whatever we get from the excavation. So we try to reconstruct the whole life of that material. What was the source of procuring that material? It was local or imported? What is the history of that thing, that material? Second is life process of material. Life process of material means when it when it was originated, what was its form, and now when it is buried under the earth, what is the process of degradation or aggradation of that particular material or particular thing. So that whole understanding of uh, life process of particular thing is known as life process of material. Second is creative. Who was the person who built this material? What was the purpose behind making such material? It was made for trade or made for local consumption, uh, or made for some particular religious aspect to gift it or give it in an exchange form. So that is the creative. Second is pathways or trajectories. Pathways and trajectories is the what was the source of that material, that we can try to understand in the archaeological studies. So the archaeology and anthropology can offer complementary analytical perspective on a cultural tradition. To understand the past, we if we don't have any kind of tool, so we start from where we know the things. Okay, right? So we deal with the present communities. We try to understand the present communities, what is their behavior and how they behave in the different seasons, what are their belief systems. So from known to unknown. Going from known to unknown is some comparatively easy task to understand the cultural system, because human cognitive science, as per human cognitive science, human behavior doesn't change dramatically uh, every day. It needs certain kind of trauma or certain kind of force to change its own behavior. So, one important aspect of cognitive science is going beyond the material aspects and trying to understand what was the purpose of making these things. Okay, so there is also one term, phenomenology. So what we do in phenomena or phenomenology, we try to go beyond our five senses, because sometimes what happens, what we are seeing as a material, as in previous slide I discussed that every material has its own life. Okay, so going beyond our five senses, what we are seeing through our naked eyes, that could be one aspect of that material, but going in depth of that material can give us a different understanding about that material. So that is a phenomenology, going beyond your five senses and trying to understand and correlate it with the context, and in what context that material was made and what was the purpose of making that material. To recreate the whole scenario could be very helpful to understand the archaeological material culture. So archaeology and anthropology is very much important to go together. We can't substitute one aspect from the another. That is why in social anthropological studies in the Western countries, what they try to do is they retrieve the archaeological they retrieve the data from the archaeological site through the excavations. They try to build data set from past to present, present to future. There is a if you have whole range of data set, you can recreate or you can reconstruct the past, or you can construct the better future if you have the whole data set. So anthropology and archaeology is very important aspect, especially in a country like India, because we have uh, more villages than the cities. So understanding urban revolution, urban cities, that is one aspect, but going beyond that urban phenomena, we need to understand the villages, how the village system deals with the different hurdles they get through the nature or man-made or different kind of calamities. So that could be a very helpful to understand the past and recreate the past through going through the present and making good policies for the future developments. So here I am sharing some of my favorite books of archaeology, in which the first one is Colin Renfrew's Archaeology Theories, Methods and Practices. It's a 2016 edition with updated information. So it is very helpful to understand the different concepts which are used in archaeological interpretation, and what are the methodology of excavation, uh, what are the important types of explorations and burial practices. So it deals with the field archaeology, basically field archaeology and interpretation part. Second one is In Pursuit of the Past. That is Lewis Binford's book, one of the finest book which I have read till the date, because at that time where he has worked, it was very scientific in approach, and it was path breaking kind of attempt to reconstruct the past. So how the uh, community community's history, understanding of any community can give you a close glimpses of the material culture. For example, there is a two concept in this chapter, in this book, where the author has tried to give us a glimpse what is emic approach and what is epic approach. Emic approach, which you are seeing something which you are trying to seeing, just folding your hand and you are standing around that community and trying to observe them. So somewhere you will notice that you are getting affected by your own biasness. But what Lewis Benford has done, that he indulged himself with the community, he lived with them, he stayed with them, he walked with them, he involved himself with those communities, uh, and try to reconstruct the whole pattern, cultural pattern of that society. So this book, this is one of the my favorite book in that sense, which gave us the uh, understanding of how we can interpret, how can we better interpret the archaeological evidences. Second was is second is Third one is again Benford's book. It is a reference book and it's very good book, well written book with the thorough research on the so-called primitive societies. Fourth one is collapse, how the any civilization, how they evolved from that landscape and what are the different reasons of collapsing that particular civilization or culture. That is Diamond's Dust book, which I have read. Fifth one is Ravi Kori Shattar's book, that is Beyond Stones and More Stones, which is which deals with the prehistoric India, not prehistoric India, deals with the starting with our historical approach, our way of understanding history. And it is very good book in the sense that because sir has Ravi Kori Settar sir has tried to use different kind of scientific applications to deal with prehistoric settlements and their dynamics. It is edited volume written by several other authors. Fifth one is Revitalizing Indian Archaeology, one of my favorite archaeologists and anthropologist in the sense, Padaya sir, K. Padaya, beautifully written book. And next one is Guns, Germs and Steel, how the historical cities or historical archaeology could be approached. That is, this book is very helpful in that sense. Next one is Indian Archaeology and Heritage Education, which deals with the monuments and other aspects. For early societies, for proto-history, one of my favorite book is Art of the First Cities, written by John Arus. Sorry. This book deals with the particular first urban civilizations like in Mesopotamia, Egypt, Indus Valley, Harappan civilization. Sorry, Harappan civilization. And next one is Cultures in Contact. That is also one of the finest book. This book in two volume, The World of Indian Archaeology. This one is a recent publication. I feel 2019's publication is this, and this book deals with how Indian Ocean shaped our culture, Indian subcontinent's history. Because normally, what we do, we deal with the inland cultures, right? But how the ocean helped in shaping the Indian civilization or Indic tradition. The term Indic tradition is also misnomer. I would like to call it mm, Bharatiya Sanskriti. That is fine because that gives us a sense of belonging. India, this term India is a geographical unit only, but Bharat is something which is very close to our culture. So, Bharati Sanskriti is more appropriate word from my point of view. So, how the Indian Ocean played the important role in shaping the Indian uh, Bharatiya Sanskriti, sorry, it is a very good book. So, thank you so much. Uh, Last two books are also important. Next one is archaeological sciences. Here in this book we have the whole range of applications which we use in archaeological studies. So this gave a close glimpses of application of archaeological sciences in archaeological studies. And last book is Prehistory of South Asia. That is also a wonderful book. So thank you so much for watching the video, and I hope this video will be helpful for you guys.